Gardening from Richmond, Vermont. Let's get started. Haircuts and transplants are what I'm going to talk about now. This is an annual hanging basket, and although it may seem brutal, it's going to be necessary to end up with what your next season will show you in the bloom cycle of your annuals. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a handful of these plants, gather them up, and you can see there's no method, but I'm ending up with about 2 inches from the top of the pot. So I'm going to go all the way around this pot. All right, now just imagine I've completed that pot. And this is an example of one that I had cut back, and this is the rebloom. It did start out looking as gangly as that one, and although one side is a little light, the side that obviously I'm going to show everybody and the way it hangs on the house is the side that is reblooming. Now after you've cut this back, of course this goes in the compost, but you'll put a mild fertilizer on this and then be patient. I like to have things happen instantly, but that's not the way it is in gardening for any of us. So put a little fertilizer on there when you water it and give it some time, and all this will start to emerge. On this side you can see this is a late emergent. This is after I did the cuttings. These guys decided, yeah, I think we want to grow into fall. So they decided to wake up and get going. This will last me now, the way it's cut back, until frost. So I'm very happy with that. This is a Million Bells, which is a petunia variety. And then this is a bacopa. It has a very sweet flower. And a bacopa is an herb of some sort. I don't eat it, but it's in the herbal family. So now I'm going to show you some transplants and cuttings. This is an example of a plant that has grown a little too large for its britches. And I did do some cuttings. I took some cuttings from it, and I'll take a couple now just to show you that you don't need to be fearful at all. You just go to what is called a branch node. Now where the branch starts a new set of leaves, that's the branch node. So I cut just below it, and that can be done a couple of times on this stem yet. So what I did with this, these became cuttings. I set them in soil that had a base of water underneath the container, and it has rooted nicely. See those nice clear roots? And this has started rooting, and this was just a leaf with a single node. This obviously was a couple of nodes. And then I have a plant pot. Imagine that there's soil in here. You pot this up with soil just to where the soil reaches there. And you can actually set this in the soil now. This is an annual though, I just want to caution you. This is a citronella geranium. It is called a mosquito plant. It doesn't seem to be too effective at anything other than drawing mosquitoes because I have it outside, and the mosquitoes are plenty right now. So this is how you handle the mosquito plant, which is a geranium. There are lots of aromatic geraniums that you'll find at local nurseries. There's some that are rose scented. There are some that are in the lemon scent family, but a geranium nonetheless is cut back the same way. You go to a leaf node. You take the cutting just a skosh below. I think this is about 1/4 inch. And if you put this into soil on its own, I would take a few more of the leaves off, because as it starts to develop roots, it wants to send energy to every single living part of its stem. So if you take off some of the leaves, you lessen the amount of food or food stores that need to go to the rest of the plant. So you necessarily would set this into water. It will start rooting. When it roots sufficiently, bring yourself a 4-inch pot or whatever size you'd like. I would recommend putting it in a pot rather than sowing it directly into the soil, just because you get a chance to watch it develop. And occasionally there's plant failure, which is not the worst thing, but if the plant fails, it's probably better to have it in a pot so that you can just change it out. If you plant everything in the garden and you get a few failures, it's sometimes demoralizing. One of the things I have too is a mint. Now I dearly love mint plants. This happens to be a chocolate mint. But one of the things you want to be cautious about with a mint is that it tends to be invasive. For me, the best revenge for any plant that's invasive is that you can eat it. So you can dry this and use it as a tea. You can use it in brownies, chocolate mint brownies. That sounds lovely. You can harvest the flower heads and put that into ice cream if you wish. All the parts of the plant except for the roots are edible. And this, as I said, this does become evasive. Wherever it touches ground, it starts to root. It's not a bad thing. A plant like this, I would have on the perimeter of, say, a strawberry bed. And if it happens to creep into the strawberries, I know it's an edible plant, so I don't have to worry about anything that is a noxious weed of any kind. Let's see, what else? Coleus is an easy one to do. You do it in the same manner and fashion that I did with this geranium citronella plant. Hydrangea, which is a perennial, you can do the same thing with that kind of cuttings. This doesn't look like much now, but this is a favorite of mine. It is a brilliant yellow daylily, and I'm going to show you one of my cutters here. You cut the pot, be very careful, let the pot open, and I'm not going to rip it apart here, but each one of these flowers, each one of these root tubers, there's about 3 or 4 in a cluster. Maybe I will take one off. Each cluster will have the viability of a full plant. So I will ease them apart when I get home, but this, with a few of the tubers on the bottom, represents a full plant. So I think it would take about 2 years for it to get this size, but you can tell how chucked full this plant pot is that it's time to repot it. So I would take it apart, I would let it sit in water for not more than 24 hours, and I would ease apart the tubers. I don't want to cut them because I don't want to do as I did right here. Bad example, but better that I do it than you. So this again is an awesome yellow daylily, and it's just phenomenal bloom. And I brought everything in to show that you don't have to cut all this back, but it's just nicer looking if you do. But anyway, this is how you identify that it's time to transplant, get this out of the pot. It's bursting out at the seams. I only had to do a little cutting here to get the pot extricated, but you can propagate daylilies. I think we all know the standard orange ones, but it's so nice to get something that's in a different color palette, and the yellow was just so pretty. That's it today for haircuts and transplants. Happy gardening.